All right. Okay, so quickly again, the conversation is on older men, younger women. The fact for the week, taken from a study from in Kenya that says, one study that says women's primary incentive for engaging in such relationships, an older male being romantically involved or married to a younger woman, the primary incentive for the woman is financial, and the primary incentive for the man is sexual gratification. And I mentioned that the fact that this came up as a conversation topic does suggest that there are some concerns regarding it, and so we want to engage those concerns. You know that there's a challenge in church that if there are things that don't get talked about, they run the rumor mill, and when they run the rumor mill, you know, sometimes some people can get help, you know, in dealing with these issues and people regarding it. So we are here at Agape, are very intentional about bringing, you know, people's concerns and issues to the fore in a way that the light of God can shine on it. Amen. We attempted to do a quick introduction, but a few more participants are here, so I'm just going to go down and invite persons to just introduce yourself quickly. So I see Lady Rox, is that you? If that's you, just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, blessings everybody. Good night, I'm Roxanne. I'm not sure what else I need to say, but God bless you.
God, okay. I see Shauna, you're able to make it on the session. You want to just introduce yourself quickly? All right, if you're hearing me, all right. I'm not so sure, Shauna.
Shauna K.
Yes, there we go.
Yes, good night, everyone. My name is Shauna K.
Okay. All right, Shauna. So the usual introduction is you can say name either where you work or where you worship, just to kind of give somebody a kind of a feel of where your perspective may come from. So you say your name, where you work or where you worship would be fine. Okay. I know that lady Shauna K works with the government bus company. And the Lady Sherry Ann, if you're hearing us, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, good night, everyone.
Good night, ma'am. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. I'm Sherry Ann Wilson. I'm from the Emmanuel Apostolic Church, as well as I work at Sagicor.
There you go. Lady Michelle, I see you're next on the list. Oh, you know, you did already, so that would be it. Okay. All right. So first, let me throw out a general question. You know, just your thoughts in general. Let me get a feel of people's thoughts on the topic. As last person to introduce yourself and first person to be canvassed, Lady Sherry Ann. What are your thoughts on this this topic? About an older man marrying a younger woman.
What are my thoughts on an older man?
Is it good? Is it okay? Not okay? For you in that way? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's perfectly fine as long as it's for good reasons.
As long as, okay.
Yeah, man, and I guess we can define what good reasons are later on. But yeah, as long as for good reasons, and both parties consent to it, sure, why not?
Okay, Sir Andrew. Any thoughts on that, Sir Andrew?
Well, firstly, if it's a consensual relationship, both persons are consenting, then fine, let them go ahead. However, there are some concerns that I would have, depending on the I'm not sure what kind of what's the divide we're talking about. Is it 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 20 years? That would be the
right.
to be in terms of old. I mean, that guy was 5 years old. I mean, that's fine. That might be fine. But I'm thinking a 20, 25-year gap.
There you go.
I personally would raise some, probably raise some eyebrows, at least for me. Not saying that it couldn't be a genuine love that is there, but I personally, for me, I'd probably raise some concerns. And well, the topic says older men, younger women. I personally, and if I'm asked, I would advise the males. Actually, I rather a male go with an older woman as opposed to with a younger woman.
Oh, so you'd rather prefer a male with a younger woman than a
older.
Than an older woman with a younger man.
Yes, I would prefer that dynamics. As a male, I prefer that dynamics as opposed to the guy being a senior citizen and the young lady in her prime.
Oh, as opposed, okay, so as to be clear, which one do you prefer, the older male, right? As opposed to older female?
If the female be the older party.
Oh, you prefer the female be the older one.
And my basis for that, I'm just thinking, and we have seen a couple of instances, even recently, at least based on the allegations that were put forward, where the guy, I think it was a murder case, and it was a case where it was an older guy with a younger female. And because of sometimes, I'm going to say they tend to, but sometimes we have situations where the guy, because they are younger, much younger, I mean, talk about a 20-year difference, and she wants to hang out with her younger friend, her age group, and then jealousy comes about, and sometimes it ends in murder. Okay,
interesting. Can say Sir James is not another male in what your thoughts on that?
Blessings everyone. I share some of the concerns that my fellow brother just explained. It all depends on the gap that we are talking about.
Okay.
It depends on the gap, because I've known of situation where the gap is even like 20 and over. And I mean, as you said, that would raise some concerns.
Okay.
I myself, my wife is younger than I am, but not that huge gap though. So I think it comes back to if the person genuinely loves the person, then fine, if they both genuinely love each other. However, the gap is going to cause a concern. So as you go along with the discussion, then we will understand more. Because say for instance, the gap is like 25 years, and one person is 50, the other is 25, or one person reaching near 60 and the other person is in the 20s. I mean, there can be issues. I'm not saying it cannot work, but there can be issues because both individuals will be at different way. The gap is so wide in terms of stages of life. It's like one person would almost live out their life to a certain extent already, and then this other person is actually just coming into themselves. And so there can be issues. There can be issues.
Okay, one more, Lady Shauna, your sentiments on that. Okay, not okay. Your thoughts.
All right. It's okay as what they stated earlier. It all depends on the gap. I personally think being with an older man is better than being with a younger male.
Okay.
Yes. So that's my take on it.
Oh, okay. So I get the general sentiment that there's no one in this particular group that thinks it is wrong, as in wrong, as in sinful wrong. But it is probably one of those, paraphrasing, it's probably one of those red flag relationships that, if you see it occurring, that you probably there are likely to be concerns. I get that. I get that sentiment or feeling from the feedback. So the obvious next question is, what are the primary concerns that you would probably see? So I'll probably go back to you, Sir Barnett. What are the primary concerns that you would see? Just at least just one or two primary concerns that you would see with an older man with a younger woman in terms of that relationship.
Well, one of the things is we have to look at, for example, health.
Okay.
A person going up in age and health issues arose that can seriously create problem, especially if the guy is like, I mean, seriously ill. And then I also look at, I mean, older guy in terms of their sexual performance. That is also a curse. I mean, I know you have Viagra these days. All right. So I guess that will fix some for some person, that will fix their issues, but that will also be a concern. A guy in his 70s who is pretty much unable to defy gravity. As opposed to a young 20, 25-year-old female who is at her peak. I mean, I see where that could raise some issues as well.
So if you saw Al Sharpton as in our image there, walking down the road with his, his lady, that would be his lady right there, you would have that probably would be the first concern that comes to mind. Is that correct?
Get that? I didn't get that. Can you repeat, please?
So, yeah, I'm looking at the picture on the image that I have on the screen, which is I don't know if that face looks familiar. The Reverend Al Sharpton, out of the United States. So I'm saying, if you saw him coming down the road with his lady, his wife, who looks like her, that would be the primary concern that you would have.
Well, actually, looking at the picture that you have there, he looks to be in pretty good condition. He doesn't, I mean, except for the gray hair, it doesn't seem to be the kind of person that he looks healthy.
Oh, he looks healthy. Okay.
He looks healthy. I'm talking about when the guy is just at that age now where you might have a heart condition, diabetic, and other circulatory issues and stuff like that.
Okay.
Those are the one that I'm concerned with.
Okay. Because this Reverend here is probably in his well past his 70s now, so he's
doesn't look like it. That's for sure.
Sir Jameson, is that your hand? Go ahead.
Boy. My fellow brother, you have me cracking up. Sir, all right. If I'm to look at this picture right here, and this man look like he's the father of this girl. So I mean, you don't want to be. This is one of the concerns that you would have. You don't want to walk into a room, walk into anywhere, walking down the road, and people say, "What a beautiful daughter you have," or people saying, "Is that your dad?" And understand what I'm saying? It's going to be a little embarrassing.
Okay, so is that embarrassment your primary concern with the relationship? The embarrassment.
No, not just that, but that is also a part of it. But as Sir Barnett, what is Barnett? Barnett was saying, is that there are other factors to take into consideration. You don't want it to be a case where the relationship starts and then as they go a year or so, then she have to become the at-home nurse to take care of him because of age and illnesses and all of this start to set in, and then this person is young and vibrant and want to go out and have fun and do other activities that he is not able to live up to.
Okay.
You understand? And that can cause problem because then if she tries to do these things now with younger persons her age, then the jealousy thing can comes in and that can cause problems also.
Okay.
All right. And then if it is the other way around now, where the female is much older than the male, or we're not really on that today.
Right.
Right.
You can share your sentiments on it, just to see.
Right. Well, it could go both ways because chances are this young woman can at some point ready to have children and is unable to get pregnant based on the age of the male. And maybe certain things not firing as they ought to if it was a younger person.
Right,
So
right,
that
right.
was also one of the primary concerns
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I would state.
yeah,
You
yeah.
understand?
Yeah, right. Anybody else? Anybody else in terms of the concerns that you would have, with brother elder, Marine, sister younger, and any other concerns regarding this relationship that you want to raise? Are those the primary concerns? Man's ability or inability to perform sexually to satisfy the relationship, is and etc. Any other concerns?
Hello. Hi.
Lady Sherian's mic is open.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So since we're talking about, I guess, the concerns, there can be concern of maturity difference. The guy probably is, into the more somber, serious phases of life. He wants to have those serious conversations.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to talk about something a little less relevant to him.
Okay.
Right. The discussion can be, there can be some.
Okay, so the
Right.
relationship itself, the relational dynamic itself in terms of communication, conversation.
That's correct.
And
also just generally the maturity level can be.
General, right, the maturity gap.
That's correct.
Okay.
So
that's
concern. Yeah. And also for some persons who are concerned about the man becoming kind of like a father figure to her in terms of, I've heard it being described before, sometimes where the man is acting as if, he's kind of parenting her. And, sometimes the woman on the other side feels as if there was someone I spoke to and she said that, he's like, act like, what them call it, Gaddafi.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So that's another negative.
Okay. So the father figure type behavior in the relationship. So not a husband and wife, it's a father-daughter kind of a dynamic going on.
Yeah.
Going on there. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Any other sentiments regarding any other issue that might arise? I see in our chat here, one individual is saying, I wonder what's the motive. Could it be she's a gold digger? So I'm segueing from that to the fact that we have and canvassing your sentiments on that particular issue. The primary incentive is financial. So I think it seems to agree with the comment in the chat that the likely reason for a younger woman getting in a relationship is for money. So she's likely to be a gold digger. Does anybody share that concern as well, along with our the individual in the chat?
Well, I know, sir. That's a stretch.
Or the gold digger is a stretch.
That's the gold digger. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, unless you know that for a fact, you'll be just be forming a judgment. I mean, what if the female is the wealthy of the two?
Okay.
Right. So that might be the case. I don't know if that is always the case.
Right.
But one of the issue that I probably also raise in terms of concern is if there are children involved. Looking at this guy, look like he could have children her age or older, and how they would relate to this new relationship.
All right, another that's a concern as well. Definitely. I want to validate the gold digger sentiment, though only for the fact that at least in one country, when they canvass the group, the majority of the reasons that were advanced for this kind of a relationship, again, is a woman who is looking for financial benefits, more than I'm in love with this person, and for the relationship aspect. So there is some merit to a good merit to the gold digger sentiment, and it has been borne out along with the others that have been raised so far as well. Let me take you, Lady Grizzle, just quickly introduce yourself and go ahead. I see your hand is up.
Okay, I'm Sedona Grizzle. I'm from Faith Apostolic Ministries.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I've seen that you have research findings on the whole gold digger theory, and it is not far fetched to think that women, they're in it for something and not necessarily so in love, but as far as I'm concerned, the men are in it for something too. And it may not be that they're so in love, but to fulfill that status, that bragging rights, that I have a young one, she keeps me fit, that type of thing.
Not to interrupt you, ladies, not to interrupt you, but the fact that we are using validates what you're saying. That in fact, if the majority of women, at least in this particular country, in this particular study, are in it for financial gratification, the men are in it primarily for in this study sexual gratification. In other words, they're in it for something too, and that has already that has also been borne out as along with all the laundry list of things that the rest of the guys had said, or Andrew had mentioned. Even so, notwithstanding the motivation for sexual gratification, their ability to perform is clearly he would have that immediate concern right there and so forth. And James had given some. So it seems that this unlikely it occurs, but this kind of a relationship usually both parties have reasons that are different from the reasons that we would traditionally expect individuals to go in to these relationships for. But before you came on, Lady Grizzle, we had canvassed the group, and most persons do not believe, nonetheless, that the relationship is wrong, but all persons.
I was there. I was.
Oh, you were there. Okay, yes, right. Yes, so yes. For the persons who came in late, all the group basically believe that it is not wrong, but that there are they see red flags, they see immediate concerns, and they were attempting to list. I don't know if anyone who has come on after that believe that the relationship in and of itself is wrong, period. But most persons believe that this is not necessarily wrong, not biblically wrong, not wrong morally, but there are red flags, and we were canvassing the red flag issues that we perceive. So we got the gold digger, we got the sexual performance, we got the relational dynamic that may be of older male, not maturity level, the father figure issue. That may be there. So if you haven't an issue that I've not mentioned a while ago, you want to raise that particular issue, you can be free to.
Well, I have a question. Just to throw out there. Is there any? In and by itself, I don't think it's necessarily wrong. But as the conversation has progressed, it makes me wonder, what is the purpose of marriage? Is there anything in the Bible that says that it really is supposed to be about love? Which the fact that God likened the church, his relationship with the church, and a man and woman relationship, and what sacrifice he made for the church, it does indicate that love supposed to be an essential part or primary part of why you should want to go through with such a relationship. Right. Now, if it is that the relationship is you continue or go through marriage on the basis of fulfilling my bills, pay my bills, right, or making me feel good, it makes me wonder now if it is wrong, outside of, okay, anybody can love each other, and it can work. What is the purpose for your getting married? And if it doesn't matches with the criteria of what is mentioned in the Bible, it makes me wonder, is it really right?
Okay. So well, that's so I'm gonna canvass the group regarding that. So is there just well, the primary reason, of course, of love as the reason for getting married? Are there other acceptable reasons for couples to get married, which may involve some degree, and it has to involve some degree of relationality in terms of either love or good relationship? But are there other acceptable reasons in this particular scenario here? So, Miss Young Person or Sister Young Person, whatever their disposition is, feels that she wants to get married, and I'm looking in the chat where someone says she wants to be in a relationship with somebody who has experience, because she probably may have been hurt with a younger person. So she definitely looking for somebody who is older, probably for that love, but suppose she's also looking for it for financial reasons as well as a stable relationship. Would that be? Is that what the moral issue with that? Is there also supposed the older man is looking for a younger person because he, in fact, his primary reason, apart from having a relationship where people are not shooting and stabbing each other, his primary is just to satisfy his sexual. What is the moral? Is there a moral issue with that? So let me canvas it over. Is there something wrong with marrying individuals for primary reasons other than the love? Let us assume that there's some amount of love in all of them, or some amount of good relationship involved in all of them, but there are other reasons. Is there something wrong with that? I see we have some other individuals who came in afterwards who may not have gotten an opportunity. Lady Keisha, I see you are with us. Keisha is a colleague from out of Montego Bay. This is an open conversation. Any thoughts that person have, you are basically free to add it. I see you, Lady Yashan. That's you right there. God bless you. So just by raising your hand or freely opening your mic and share if you do. Sir Barnett, I see your hand is up. What is your moral take on this particular issue?
Well, I wanted to ask in terms of, because in terms of the marriage and the love, we know that would be good and ideal. You want to think that you if you don't love the person, you don't get involved with them. But then my mind went back to Abraham,
right,
and his son Isaac, and right. We've seen a number of occasions where he wanted a son for a wife for his son, and he have his servants went back to where he was from, among his relatives, and bring a female. I don't know if there was any courtship between Isaac and Rebecca before Abraham sent his servant to get her. So I don't know if there's any love between both of them. But yet, further on, the Bible did say that Isaac, that he loved her. Again, it would not have been before the union. So it does makes me wonder. Love is an important ingredient. I want to believe that it will be based on love and mutual respect and all of that.
Right.
Based on that consideration, I'm wondering if it is a prerequisite, and I don't know if it will make the marriage any. I don't think it will make the marriage null and void. Of course, it could run into problems later on.
Right.
If it's ulterior motives, because I don't know. Answer the question, and I'll ask the same thing as well. I can't remember if the Bible stated, okay, so in order for you to get married, these are the criteria. You must do this, you must do that, except that you are not related and either of you is not in another marriage, so it's not bigamy or anything like that. Then I don't know. I've never seen any any qualifications in terms of marriage. So if it's outside of love, then I mean, according to problems, yes, but I don't think I can say it's wrong or a sin. And if you're marrying the guy because of, I mean, marriage, really, I mean, if you should, I mean, you look back in previous times, sometimes it's sort of a business arrangement. All right, it's sort of a business arrangement where a person decides, okay, then what the families, at least sometimes not even the individual themselves that in mind, but the families decide that, okay, then you are going to get married to that person so that we can fulfill this business agreement or contract, whatever the case might be. You know, so I don't know. I don't see it as wrong. I mean, ill advised maybe, but I wouldn't say it's wrong or even sinful.
Right. Heard you, Sir Andrew. Sir Jameson, and on the same point, your thoughts.
Listen, everyone again, sir. I'm listening. The Bible, the Bible did not actually give a criteria to say that, boy, you have to have this or have that, or whatever the case is. However, if you are going to, well, since you say that, let us say that some amount of love is in all of all of these relationships. If I think that should be the sole purpose for you getting married, because anything else outside of that, as soon as that is not being fulfilled, then chances are the marriage can go apart. I mean, love is actually a choice. You choose to love the person, right? And once you go before God and man now and you take this oath, then you are expected to live by it until those parts. Right, you're expected, and it does not happen like that in all cases, but you're expected to live by it, right? However, also, if the individual now is going to say, boy, I'm marrying this person because I think that I can get so and so, or marrying this person can put me up to so and so, and I can get, as soon as these sections are these expectations starts to fail, then your chances are you're looking at a failed marriage down the road. Because you can marry to somebody today, they're in a very good job and they're earning very good money, and by next week they're not in that job. Right. And sometimes it can take them all years to get back another job. Sometimes they never even ever get back another job like that, and they have to be struggling, and anything can just happen. And then what will happen now? Because that was the reason why you married the person, you know, because of the financial gain that you could get. So down the line now, you're now left, you start to consider, no, probably we need to find somebody else that can actually keep this up. So that is one concern that I would share. I don't think these things, as I said, the Bible didn't give a criteria saying that you need to have such and such, or you're supposed to be in this position, or you're supposed to be whatever. But if you truly care about this person and this person truly cares about you, then in truth and in fact, financial gains or whatever thing else that comes along are in the marriage, or that we know that money answers all things, right? And you can't just, somebody would have said married so. Well, we kind of have that notion. I would say, boy, you need to bring something to the table. But when you look at persons who get married years ago, I hear Pastor Wang testify, and several other persons would have testified of when they got married. They had like nothing. Right. And these marriages are going until today and onwards. So I don't think that is you need to say, boy, you're looking for certain things in there, because as soon as these things can't come to fruition, then obviously the marriage is going to go apart.
I see in this chart here, Lady Shan, that the motive that persons enter that kind of relationship can be wrong. So they can have wrong motives for entering the relationship, and if the motive is wrong, then of course that would then make it sinful. And I see another comment here from GD that says it's morally wrong to marry someone for reasons other than love, it's like using an individual to achieve your personal goal, which is selfish. And finally, Lady Keisha, your sentiments is the Bible does say husbands love your wives and wives submit to your husband. So I'm getting the sentiment from listening to all of you that, you know, and if we're using the biblical model where, you know, and this is an open conversation, by the way, so it does not, it allows for persons who do not have a biblical model to share their sentiments and thoughts as well. So if we're using the biblical model, that's the you know, marriage is based on the relationship between God and the church, and of course we know that the nature of that relationship is based on love, for God so loved the world, etc., etc. But I do get the sense that everybody here feels that the love component is central and integral to all of any relationship that is supposed to be marriage. And I'm going to comment a little bit on our understanding of that term within the context of marriage. But love should be there. But it also appears that there are, you know, unlike the traditional folks who are, well, it's love or nothing, there are other acceptable reasons, and in addition to love, that that can motivate relationships. As we say in the Old Testament, some relationships were basically assigned. Somebody and a patriarch in the family would send for and find a wife and bring that wife to his husband. They would not have known each other, and so they would literally be brought together almost as strangers. And of course, they are expected, both of them, to actually love each other moving forward. And there are other reasons as well. Financial reasons are, in addition to loving the individual, can be another motivation towards a marriage, as opposed to choosing somebody who you may also probably have a similar kind of a good relationship with or love for, but they simply can't support you. Some person may choose that, those other reasons, but I get the sense that the love is the core and has to be there, as Jameson pointed out. Because if the other reasons fail, then and without the love, the marriage itself is going to fail, and then that would inevitably be sinful. I don't know if there's anyone that has a genuine sense that it differs from what I just said, but I think that's a sentiment that I am getting here. I see a question: can an older woman easily submit to a younger man? If you enter into marriage with the wrong motive or reasons, you are bound to have trouble. Marriage is hard enough for couples who marry for love as it is. All right, so that's from Lady Keisha. So that's a good point to make, right? That the love has to be the core, and you know, the relationship needs, in the relationship, you know, both persons have to be in a position where, you know, if a woman, as she's pointing out, needs to show submission, would she be able to submit to a younger man? Sir Barnett, I see your hand was up. Is it still up? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask a question. I'm trying to think far and wide.
Mm-hmm.
Are we saying that in a situation where persons enter the marriage for what we consider to be the wrong reasons,
Mm-hmm.
are we saying that those marriages are destined for failure? Is that what you're saying? Or because I see it differently. I mean, there are marriages that were entered into for all the right reasons that still end up failing.
Right.
All right. The motives are good. Christ was at the center. Everything was there. But for whatever reason, the marriage still does not work.
Right.
All right. So are we saying that, okay, then you are guaranteed a long, meaningful marriage if you enter the right for the right motives, whatever we deem those to be? as opposed, and if the motive at the outset, if the motive at the outset is flawed, so it is not based on mutual love, then ultimately the marriage is going to fail. Is that what? That's what I'm getting. I mean, I don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a response to that question. But let me see if Lady Grizzle, are you attempting to respond to that question?
Yes, sir. I don't think that if they entered in with wrong motive, then ultimately that's just absolute that they're going to fail. I don't necessarily believe so. So just as the arranged marriages, they didn't, it's not like they loved each other before per se. They didn't know each other, but they grew, they grow into doing that. There is an expectation that they will love each other. And even by the example that Brother Barnett gave, when he spoke about Abraham, he said, you know, he loved her. So there is that expectation. So you may not start off well, but if you get it right on the way, I think it is possible. It is also possible by virtue of what you call it now, just understanding the business arrangement. All right. It in some respect and success of marriages, all right, it's not that it is relative, but the perception of it is relative. Okay, if you understand what I mean. Because all right, for the ones that actually, as they go, they grow and they get to understand each other, didn't start out on the right with the right motives, but as they go, they learn and they apply the word, or you know, just have an understanding of what is required and just try to fulfill that. Versus the one that all right, this is just a business arrangement, he's getting this thing done for me. If I step out, regardless of that he cheats, if I step out, my child's university bill will not be paid, I can't drive the car that I want, or so on. So yes, they have the many years of anniversary, but is it necessarily a successful marriage? You know, no. So, you know, not because a couple don't divorce, it doesn't mean that they have a successful marriage.
Good, right, good point. So let me segue to this issue of how we define or talk about love, because when we talk about love in marriage, of course, most of us are referring to romantic love, or romantic desire probably would be more accurate. And there are relationships we probably are not, you know, in our culture, not aware that there are relationships that succeed very well, where persons did not actually initially get involved or get married because of romantic love. They you know, they had to come to they came to each other for different reasons. And as well, even persons who had the wrong motive at the very beginning could also, you know, their intent or attitude may end up changing and can change in the process of, you know, of the relationship. So I think it should be important for us to appreciate that love is the narrow definition of love that we use sometimes can be problematic. You may ask, so somebody may look at a younger woman, or can she really romantically love this old man? And the answer, again, the answer could be no. But the question is, can she actually love the man? And the answer to that question could be yes. I'm going to throw that out there to see your feedback on it. When you say love, could it be that there are persons who are actually having a loving relationship based on the biblical model of love, based on God's love for the church, but it doesn't fit our traditional understanding of you know, our romantic notions, and so that person she loves this individual in that probably that platonic way, but that committed way, is committed to the relationship, and also decide to proceed with the relationship because it is going to provide her with financial security for herself and her children, and that relationship end up being long lasting and not as abusive and violent as some of those who started out with romantic love, and good sexual attraction and end up in another. Is there a problem or potential problem with our understanding of love in relationships that could make us bias against these kind of relationships? And what do you understand by love? That's a mouthful. What do you understand by love in relationship? Let me get that sentiment first. What do you understand by love in a marriage relationship? The kind of a love that we're talking about that we said is what God requires, or is that the one that we're talking about, or we're talking about the one that is in our culture where somebody eye catch a female, or female sees you and is very attracted to your status or your voice or your caring, loving ways? What do you understand love to be? Let me anybody would want to respond to that. What do you understand by love in the context that we're talking about here? Lady Smith, is your mic open there?
Oh, yes, sir. But you just said a while ago in the context that we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
I had just wanted to mention as it relates to love and how God expects us to love in a marriage relationship is how he had likened Jesus with the church.
Right.
And when we are looking at it from that angle, and even going back to when there were arranged marriages, I'm trying to think I'm thinking that there would have been arranged marriages even in the time of Christ.
Right.
So if that be the case, then the understanding is, and please correct me if I may be incorrect, anyone. The understanding is that though the marriage is arranged, first of all, Christian marriages that we understood back then was arranged according to how God would have led. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
If God leads, then all things eventually works out how he plans it to be, unless the will of man goes into play and changes all the things. So I am saying that the way God indicates for us to love is as how he loves the church. And if there's a arranged marriage back then, especially even in certain cultures, now it is expected. The culture sets the precedence to say, listen, each person does what they need to do towards a loving relationship in the marriage. I personally am not sure how that works out, because as you quite frankly pointed out, that marriages in true love start out in true love and all those good stuff turns out in such an array situation, and the converse happens when it's an arranged marriage and it turns out wonderful in the end. I'm not sure if I'm making a whole lot of sense, but that's just my 2 cents.
So what I'm understanding from your sense is that, from what you're saying, is that if love itself, the core, is that behavior towards the other person as Jesus behaved, as God behaved to the church, and as God next to the church. So it transcends romantic desire. Let's put it that way. It's at the core, it is stronger than that, because at some point in time, romantic desire may go up and down, but that commitment to the other person's well-being is really the core of what love is. And if a marriage, any marriage that comes together with both parties that are committed, have made a lifelong commitment to that other person's well-being, regardless of the romance, regardless of the status of the person, regardless of the culture, those marriages are the ones that are going to last, as opposed to you know, the ones that we probably also want to tack on all the other things. You know, boy, I'm have to drive a car, after the feet, you know, after romantic desire, X, Y, Z. So we're canvassing what do we understand by love. So one definition is as Christ of the church. I think Lady Grizzly, your hand was first, and then Jameson. Your sentiments.
Yeah, I do agree with Sister Smith. I think the love that is required for the sustenance and survival of a marriage is that depth, that deep one, that unconditional one, that irrespective of attraction, irrespective of the man's ability to function sexually, irrespective of a burnt face, you know, I just still love you, and I'm gonna keep holding on because thick and thin, rich or poor, I love you and I'm gonna stay. So it really does transcend, as you said, far beyond. Chances are, and it is likely, that by having that type of love, there would be some what you call it, attraction, or you know, that romantic love.
Right.
But when the romance is not there, it is that love that sustains the marriage.
Marriage. All right, lady. Not Lady Shauna. Sir Jameson.
Yes, I am also agreeing with Sister Grizzly here too, and Sister Smith. There is remember when the love relationship started out, you know, at the beginning, that attraction, that romantic kind of a feeling, that eros love, right? That the word erotic is from, right? That that is also important, because that is where that attraction and everything, that is where it actually started. However, as you transcend into this thing now, then the whole big biblical perspective of how Christ loved the church, they say, oh, you ought to love your wife, that he gave his life for it and all of that, then also comes into play, right? And then you would now embed that along also with we can't leave out the romantic part of it, because that is also important. So it's both of them intertwined that will actually keep and sustain the marriage. Because as Sister Grizzly was just saying, when everything else starts to shred off, right? And they come out of that what I call that phase now, that where the scales drop
the
off.
The honeymoon phase.
And all of that phase. When all of that phase come off, normally let's say it take about 2 years for you to come out of that phase. When you come out of that phase now, and you need now that deeper side, that this unconditional part of the love now, that will actually sustain. But it doesn't mean that the romantic part is totally gone. It's not. You understand? But as I said, that one, as I said, sometimes will fluctuate, and 1 minute it's up and next minute it can down, it can halfway, it can come back through the roof and stuff like that. However, the unconditional love now, that is the one that is going to keep it through the thick and the thin and the rough time, just as Sister Grizzly was explaining a while ago. I would also allude to that and agree.
Will I be stereotyping you, Sir Jameson, if I suggest that boy trust the man to champion the romantic part of the relationship, right? Would I stereotype you if I said that?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, no problem. I'm poking fun at you on the romantic championing the cause. Lady Sean, okay. Your sentiments on that. Your hand was up, Shauna. See, all right. Her hand disappeared. Okay.
Yes, afternoon. It's not Shauna, it's Shauna husband.
Oh, it's Shauna husband listening in. Yeah, man. How are you, man?
Good afternoon. I'm good.
All right. Your sentiments on that. What love? What our concept of love in the context of marriage for you.
I want to answer in such a way. Uh, Based on the Christian context, because not everybody would agree to the Christian context of what love is. But in the Christian context, you know, even the Bible may ask of us to love in the way that Christ love. A lot of times persons will miss a part of it to know that it is not an emotional concept he's bringing across.
Okay.
He's not driving us to be emotional so much about love. But I was listening to some comments earlier, and so it is more a rational side of to know, even when he distinguished the difference between the man and the woman, to say that the man would require respect over a woman to demand love. A lot of time we can be unfair in love. But if we would give to each as such as we should, we wouldn't have a problem. But a lot of time it's because we are unfair to each other. And that's a lot of times is what causes the conflict in the marriage. But yes, we should love, but not in an emotional drive ourselves to love based off how we feel. Because a lot of times our feelings it causes a lot of tension and conflict in the relationship. Yes, right. So that is my
Okay. Yeah, understood. Definitely understood. I want to I want to throw in though, because well, let us put it this way. The studies have shown that everybody is both, thinking beings. Every individual are both thinking beings as well as feeling beings. And you will not have an effective relationship outside of intelligently using both. You need emotional intelligence and you need intellectual or cognitive intelligence in order to actually love the way that the Lord loves. Because if we actually don't have the balance, that's where the challenge actually is going to come in. So if you have, for example, the man whose love is unfeeling, then of course, the relationship is going to go cold and it's going to be difficult. And if you have the man who is too emotional, then there won't be any strength in the relationship to go through difficult times. So the truth is that the most healthy relationships require both male and female to be both cognitively, engaged, able to think and able to reason and able to be rational. And it also requires both individuals to be emotionally in touch, be sensitive to people's hurt, people's resentment, people's fears, people's doubts. And so that's where the feeling component comes in. Of course, I believe what was pointed out as well is that there are dangers to the emotional component, where if it becomes the central part of the relationship, it again, the balance gets lost and the relationship is harmed. And the converse can be true to an individual who is all thinking and no emotion. So I think if the takeaway from this conversation, which is a good point when you talk about what is love, what does love look like, especially in a healthy relationship, it has to involve both the engagement of the emotions and the thinking in a balanced way in order to get the best results. any sentiments on that, but I want to ensure that that is also said. So back to the core of this, in terms of trying to let me see. Yes. Well, not although Shauna's phone that is here. Yes, you're
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yes, that's yes, I agree.
There you go.
What you said a
But
while ago.
right, so what I pick up the sentiment in terms of, again, if the relationship becomes, if the focus is on the emotional aspect of the relationship, of course that would step outside of the biblical model, and that's not really the intent. The intent of the
Yeah,
book.
because I'm seeing here, I just come, I didn't see everything, but I'm seeing an older man and a younger woman.
Right.
What another thing that comes to me, is that
Yes. Yes.
I guess that point is like it slipped me.
No problem, man. It will come back in a little bit. I want to bring it back to again the subject here now. So let us, for those persons who are acquainted with couples who are older, older man, younger woman, but also the reverse could be true. In trying to wrap up what we have, we could say that we have concluded in this conversation, is that it is not intrinsically wrong. So if you see an older man, younger woman, much older man, younger woman, much older woman, younger man, it is not intrinsically wrong, meaning that it does automatically mean that somebody's motive is wrong. So something is wrong about the relationship, etc. But it does raise concerns or red flags that you probably have, and some of those concerns, again, male, who might be looking for sexual gratification, female, mostly in the relationship, and if that fails, then that relationship is likely to fail. Female looking for wealth, or probably a gold digger mentality, and if that is not there, it's going to fail. The whole issue of communication in the relationship, that might be, that might fail. The whole question of what is the real motive for this is, are these people really trying to get into the relationship to because of the love that the Lord has for his church, or do they have other versions of love in their others in mind? All right. We discussed, so we flagged a laundry list of concerns, but also it seems that we are clear that that the individuals can in fact get involved in these relationships and love each other in the way that the Lord of the church, and have healthy, even long-lasting relationships, just the same, without, and probably even do better than couples who would have gotten into relationship for the traditional reasons that we normally have, seeing somebody and falling in love romantically, and then getting together and building a relationship together. So in truth and in fact, that these relationships can be just as healthy as any other relationship. And the question then arise in closing, that there seems to still be some stigma and some taboo associated with these relationships. And I think the taboo and the stigma is associated with all the concerns that get raised. But if from this conversation we can say that, notwithstanding the concern, it is possible. Question is, I wonder if we are, how do we treat it? Are we treating with these individuals? Do we see them and automatically start to gossip? Do we see them and automatically have those concerns and then relate to them in that way? How do we relate to couples who seem to fall outside of the tradition and the norm? You have people that come to church and they fall outside of the norm in the culture. What is our initial, or how do we relate to them? moving forward, especially from this conversation? How do we should we treat with? How do we move forward? Do we probably try to advocate against it? Do we try to see them? Do we avoid or try are very nervous around them? How do we treat these individuals? Any sentiments on that part? Because I do have a concern regarding when things fall outside of the cultural norm, it creates problems, pressures for the couple themselves, because they are seen as the the odd couple, and they probably would know that these people have these concerns about their relationship, but nobody's talking about it. No, they don't get an opportunity to to share their sentiments that they in fact have found the love of God, etc. People just see them going and just judge them in a particular way. That, boy, I wonder, should I gold digger or whatever. How do we treat with these kinds of couples that we may see in our church, in order to make them feel a little bit more secure in their relationship, and if there are challenges, that they have a place to be able to have those conversations? How do we do that? That's probably a big question, but I'll throw it out nonetheless to see if I can get a response. Well, I see this hand up, so let me are you responding to what I was throwing out there, or anybody else? How do we treat with these persons? Going once. I see a mic open. Yes.
So, Brother Leonard, so the question is basically about the old and the young person getting together.
Right, the older person and the younger person getting together. So so you see a couple like that, I don't know, in your community, in your church, and with all the concerns that a lot of persons would raise about that kind of a relationship, what should our attitude be? What should our approach be in order to help those kinds of couples to feel better about their relationship, or if there are concerns, to address them? What would you respond?
So my first take is to say that I don't believe this thing it just happened. No, I believe this thing has been around before. I've been long before now.
Right.
Because even I believe I'm not sure. Maybe I might be wrong, but I think with Joseph and Mary, I believe Joseph was a much older person than Mary. You know? So this thing is coming from far back. I guess it's the whole sense, and I guess our culture now may look on it now and say like, it's a whole bigger concept, because and in a sense too, based on our culture too, it kind of build a new foundation to say that when you see a young person with an older person, it must be for this reason.
Right. So
this thing has been around before. So it's kind of a reset, but it has been there before. So nothing really new about it in a sense. So I don't believe nothing wrong with that, because I mean it have been before, and whether it wants to be a whole or the same, you can be with the same age person and all of that, and it can be a terrible marriage. It can that you understand? That person can make a life a living hell. So that doesn't determine your marriage to be successful or happy, whether the person is young or old. It does not.
Right. So it has existed, of course, from way back when. So I think based on all that has been said in this conversation, we've come to the point where we accept that yes, there are risks, but it is very possible that there are very healthy relationships that look like this: older men, younger woman. But the taboo, the stigma, is clearly evident just by us having the conversation about it. Clear shows that there is some stigma. The question again is, this exists, this situation exists. There are couples like that in our church. Some of them, of course, probably are feeling the kind of anxiety that we're talking about. Boy, I wonder them things that me a gold digger. Boy, I wonder them things that me just love the woman because she young and she's spruce here and whatever. Or you know, and they probably are the kind of a laughing of the joke of the group. How do we help these, especially in a Christian environment, especially in a probably at work, maybe that might end up being the case. This is what I'm canvassing in closing. How do we move forward? In church, we know that these things are the things that don't get spoken about around the pulpit. That's why we're having these kind of conversations here at Agape, right? But they exist and they cause anxiety, they cause stress within people's relationship. As a matter of fact, next thing you know, the relationship end up breaking apart, and somebody said, why is it destined to break apart because she is too young? Whereas maybe if they had gotten the kind of a support that they needed, they could have moved forward. So, Sir Barnett, I'm starting with you. What is you think is the Christian attitude, the morally right attitude towards this group? Bearing in mind all that we have said about this kind of relationship.
Well, listen, one of the things, Sir Smith, that I've always been concerned about is this thing that I call group thinking. Where one person thinks for the group and everybody else just accept that position without even questioning the rationality behind it. Now, from that context, I think that the leadership of the church will have to will have a major role to play in getting persons to understand that, listen, both of them might not be 35. One might be 35 and the other 65. However, that is not to say that the marriage will or will not work, as age has never really determined a success or failure of a marriage.
Right.
All right. So if the leadership creates that leadership creates that environment, all right, that space where individuals understand that, okay, then a marriage is a marriage, regardless of the age difference. The same way we celebrate when two 21-year-olds get together, the same way we celebrate them and we support them and we are asked to pray for them and we announce their anniversary and so on and so forth. We have to treat this one in the very same way. All right, we cannot treat it any differently because it's not like they're homosexuals. All right, it's a heterosexual couple, and they are biblically they're not doing anything wrong. It might not be what you prefer as an individual, and that's fine because we have our difference. We have our preferences. So it's fine. That is not your way. That's not what you would have done. However, it doesn't mean that you cannot support the individuals in give them every bit of support that they need. They probably even need it more than the couple that we consider to be normal. They probably need it more. But I believe it should have to start with the leadership. They'll have to create that space, that environment, and the person know, listen, we are here, we're a family, and we're going to support individuals as long as it's not a case where they are being disobedient or willfully rebellious against what scripture teaches or anything like that. So I say, let them be, encourage them, be happy for them, pray for them. It's just a marriage like any other marriage.
That's right. Excellent. Lady Grissom.
Yes, sir. I'm in agreement to what Brother Andrew said. I think it's reasonable, and it's expected that something that is strange, that persons will be a little bit uncomfortable with it. But just like anything else that the church would have to adjust to, how we treat the effeminate, so we treat, somebody that continues to fall in the church or whatever. Not to say that I'm alluding to the situation as if it is sinful or whatever, but anything that is strange, like, before we used to just see natural hair in church, things are a little bit different now. At first, for me, when I go to an apostolic or Pentecostal church and see everybody else with hair and this and that, it feels strange, it feels taboo, but then now you learn and you understand that, you know, this doesn't define you necessarily or determine if you're heaven or hell. And you just grow and learn to accept it. And likewise, I think it is the same thing. It may be taboo that they're of significantly different age, but you just gradually adjust and you just accept it as if it's just any other marriage. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think there's any need to bring up age unless they are the ones that make, you know, bring it up as a means of discussion, because a marriage is just a marriage and you're just dealing with marriage, full stop. Age would just come up perhaps if they have concern and bring it up, but outside of that, I don't, just treat it as a marriage.
Okay, after GD says, leave people business and leave it alone. That's that's one response. Lady Sherian.
Yes, good. Yeah. All right. So I have agreed with what Sidonia has said, as well as, to be honest, I'm not sure of your name. I'm sorry, but I do agree with what you have said prior to this. Sorry about that. Right. So the main thing is accept them like any other couple. You know, that's the main thing. Accept them like any other couple. Also respect the fact that even though they're different in terms of there's an age difference and it may not be a marriage or a partnership that we're used to, it doesn't mean that, you know, they're weird. You know, they're fine, they're okay. And they have their preferences and it's not illegal. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. One of the ways they can help just the climate of the whole thing and make them feel comfortable is to not have awkward conversations with them, or, you know, try to be weird around them basically, and, you know, try to point out that, you know, you could have looked like your father, or, you know, so what about the kids? He's, you know, her age. Those are really unnecessary. You don't need to take, you know, start conversations or have conversations with them like that. So I think that's important. For me personally, I can tell you that I have been used to relationships with some serious age difference from like forever, because my parents, they're 9 years apart.
Okay.
My mom and my dad, they were 9 years apart. My mom died in 2010. My dad got remarried, and his wife, the age difference is even greater, you know. My brothers, it's the same thing. For me personally, I have generally preferred older persons because of the maturity level, etc., etc.
Yes.
To see me and think that, oh, because I would deal with someone who is older means that I'm a gold digger, you're judging.
Yes.
Because if it is that you're questioning my need for financial stability, then understand. And if I do speak for persons like myself who prefer, you know, or I would deal with someone who is older, then when I consider a man's financial status, when I consider the financial status of a man who is older, it's the same way I consider it of a man who is my age.
Okay.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, nobody wants somebody who's laying around not doing anything and not earning an income, etc., etc.
Right.
It's the same consideration. So, you know, let's not judge, let's not make things awkward. Yeah, that's just my opinion where that is concerned.
Excellent. I think that's a good note to end on. In closing, I wanted to add also that you know, moving these kind of issues forward, conversations are important. It's not a part of our tradition. We normally are heard that, you know, one person telling us what is supposed to be done, and then we're supposed to be, you know, they're trying to follow in that trail. But conversations about the issues also, especially within the churches, are important because they help to bring down the stigma. They help us to hear the voices of these older men who are in relationship with these younger women, to humanize them, and of course, you know, to allow the community to be healthy. So I would add having healthy conversations, and I would also add that this is 2021. We need to have informed counseling concerning these issues, because we see how many challenges that are around some of these relationships, and so having informed counseling for these couples is going to be very, very helpful. Any final comments from anyone on this subject before I see your hand up here again, Lynn. I don't know if it's go ahead if anybody has any additional comments there. None. Okay, thank you very much. We went way over time on this one, but I think the conversation is fruitful, and I hope that when you leave, when it comes to this particular subject matter, you'll be a little bit better informed if you were not before, and as a group, we'll be able to respond better to these couples in the future. God bless you. Do open your mics and greet somebody. As we say, good night for faith and family conversation.
Good night. Have a good night.
Very good.
Night, everyone. Night,
Good to see
night.
you, Natasha. Again, in this session. This is good. Jameson, Lady Sherian. Take care. Bye.